Welcome back. Today, we're diving straight into the Advanced Auditing, Assurance, and Professional Ethics paper. We're going to take a really focused look at exactly where things go wrong, specifically the structural and scope failures that are silently costing you marks. But hey, before we talk about what goes wrong, let's quickly establish what goes right. A top-scoring answer in this paper basically does 4 specific things. First, you identify the rule. Second, you state what that rule requires. Third, apply that requirement to the specific facts given. And fourth, conclude on what the auditor should actually do. Think of this as your unbreakable 4-part chain. Now, here's the reassuring part. When answers score badly, they don't fail in a million different ways. They fail in a small number of very recognizable ways. 8 of them, to be exact, account for the vast majority of lost marks here. And we can neatly split these into 2 camps. 4 of them are breaks in that chain we just talked about, and the other 4 are failures of scope, meaning things you just didn't even think to consider in the first place. All right, let's look right at the first category, 4 failures of the chain. Failure number 1, citing the wrong standard. Imagine, you've written this beautifully confident answer, but it's built on a rule that just doesn't apply to the facts. The whole thing collapses, right? The requirement you're quoting simply isn't the requirement that's actually engaged by the scenario. Then we have failure number 2, naming the right standard but quoting the wrong requirement. Look, standards are packed with obligations, so just recognizing the right standard is only half the battle. The other half is knowing exactly which part of it actually bites on the specific facts you're dealing with. Failure number 3 is all about the conclusion. Specifically, reaching a conclusion without any reasoning. This is when you state what the auditor should do, and then you just stop. The outcome might be 100% correct, but the marks are in the working, and your working is totally missing. An examiner literally cannot give you marks for a brilliant chain of thought if you never actually wrote it down. And failure number 4 is the exact opposite of that. Discussing at length and never concluding. You explore the issue, weigh both sides perfectly, and then it just ends. You've left the examiner holding this great analysis with absolutely no decision at the end of it. You have to state the auditor's course of action in actual words. Okay, moving right along to our second category, 4 failures of scope. Our 5th failure overall, and the first scope failure, is ignoring materiality. This happens when you apply a requirement perfectly, but you completely forget to ask if the amount involved is even significant enough to matter. Keep in mind, almost every single judgment in this paper is filtered through significance. If you skip that filter, you're skipping a massive step the examiner is actively looking for. Failure number 6 is missing the reporting consequence. You might resolve the whole issue completely competently. You identify the problem, state the procedure, reach a solid conclusion, and then totally forget to ask what this all means for the actual audit report. Honestly, a lot of questions carry marks specifically for that final step alone, so missing it means leaving those marks entirely on the table. Failure number 7, missing the ethics dimension. Sometimes a question looks exactly like a straightforward technical problem, but hiding right underneath is a threat to independence, a conflict of interest, or confidentiality obligation. If you treat the problem as purely technical, you've really only answered half the question. And our 8th failure is treating guidance as though it were mandatory or vice versa. Not everything issued by the Institute carries the exact same weight. You have to remember this. Standards oblige. Guidance recommends. If you confuse the two, you're stating the auditor's position completely wrong, even if you understand the underlying subject matter perfectly. So why does this matter? Well, these 8 failures are absolutely worth memorizing as your own personal diagnostic list. If you get an answer back, you've lost marks, and you can't figure out why, I guarantee the reason is almost always on this list. Unexplained lost marks pretty much always fall straight into one of these 8 buckets. Most marks in Paper 3 are not lost because a student did not know the subject. They are lost because something in the chain was skipped, or something outside the obvious question was never considered.